I thought it got below zero last night.
It did.
Yeah. Ice all over the swag. Got the Spinifex defence shored up a bit.
We departed Georgia Bore, heading past the ominous-looking signs. We had a permit, after all. This section of the Canning stock route is shared with the Talawahna track, one of Len Biddell's roads, and as such is much higher quality than most of the rest of the CSR. Reaching Caliper, well 23, there was little of it left, and it has never been restored. This isn't a place to fill up on water, but this well, in the past, has held great importance for four-wheel drive travellers of the Canning stock route. A track heads out the back of the well, towards a small clearing, and it's here that you'll find the remnants of the former Well 23 fuel dump, operated by the Capricorn Roadhouse. You put in your order and send your payment 6 to 8 weeks in advance for a 44-gallon drum of diesel or petrol, nominate your delivery date, and the drum gets trucked out here and left waiting with your name on it. You borrow the pump from here, which appears to have in modern times been replaced with half a brake caliper, pump what you can into your vehicle in jerry cans, and leave the rest behind. As in more recent years the Canning became more of a popular destination, this started to fall out of favour. Solo travellers found the requirement to buy in increments of 200 litres inflexible. Issues started to occur when people arrived to find that their drum of fuel had been drained by somebody else, as fuel thieves knew that there was pretty much always fuel left here for somebody. The final nail in the coffin for this scheme was when Kunawarritji opened up its community to visitors and installed fuel pumps. Now travellers just carry a little more fuel and fill up there, buying fuel by the litre like you would at any other service station. Continuing on from there, as that was our plan, we headed towards Well 24, nearly missing the turnoff. Arriving at Kataru, Well 24, what I'm trying to tell you here in a recording that consists of only wind noise, is that this well is built next to the native soak here. In 1952, Wally Dowling discovered the body of an Aboriginal boy who drowned in the well, but after retrieving the body, he still had to use the well in order to get water for him, his drovers and his cattle. Aboriginal artefacts have previously been found in this area as it was a popular meeting place due to the abundance of water, but looking around we found only a few bones. If you find anything, please do leave it where it is. Shortly down the road, we find the turn-off towards Windy Corner. This is the spot where the Talawahna track meets the Gary Highway, named such by Len Biddell because while waiting for the Gunbarrel Road construction party to show up, he was barely able to leave his vehicle due to the strong wind. Continuing on down the Canning though, conditions returned to normal. After this, a few clay pans, their vast expanse a good excuse to get the drone out. And well 25, Wantilly just around the corner. This well wasn't restored by Snell in 1929 because he ran out of timber, but it was later rebuilt by Canning in 1930. A lid remains, but the well is no longer usable today. Another clay pan, and a few more dunes were to come, and we continued on.
Well, I think that's got to be the least left of a abandoned trailer.
And then we arrived at Tiwa, well 26. In 1983, this was the first well to be restored in modern times, by a party led by David Hewitt. This one features a monument to Canning, featuring his own personal water tank. The well remains fully operational today. 2 guestbook boxes are present here, one built by Trackcare WA, and one by the Australian Range Rover Owners Club. In a stroke of irony, It's the one built by the Range Rover Owners Club that has not suffered the major mechanical failure. There's also one of Track Care WA's toilets here as well. Further down the track, we found some evidence of what happened to those ominous-looking storm clouds hanging over us at Lake Disappointment. Rain occurred to our north before we got here. Stopping in the Slate Range for a closer look, we climbed to the top. Continuing on, we spotted a camel. We followed a track that went into a cleared area in the middle of the range, which would potentially make a nice spot to camp. After a short drive, we then arrived at Raki Well 27. The bucket remains, and there's some remnants of the well in a hole, but no water is available here. There's a short track to a nearby native soak, but there's no surface water there either, only a collection of plastic barrels. Further down the track, we reached Helen Hill, ascending for a look.
Okay, we're north of Thring Rock.
Ah, you're to the north of us. Are you northbound?
Yes, we're north-south.
Making radio contact with another group from the top of the hill, this group north of us at Thring Rock, about 40 kilometres away and northbound. The track to Separation Well departs from here, but access is forbidden. From the pictures of it that I've seen, you aren't missing much. Arriving at Mujingerra, Well 28, little remains, but it looks like a good spot to camp the night.
Did you get any rain? Did you get any rain today, over?
So we didn't get any rain last night and we didn't get any rain today, but we drove through a few puddles.
So we got some well-related scrap metal. Alright, well I guess that's going to have to do.
Well, it didn't come off.
Departing in the morning, we heard others on the radio, and unlike every other vehicle we'd heard from so far, these people were heading southbound, so we'd soon be meeting them.
Yeah, we're just past 10k north of 8 kilometres north of 28.
What's the track like down south?
Easy peasy.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
I was on there 6 years ago and it was terrible. Good luck for the rest.
You too.
You too.
How did this happen?
We reached Well 29, Warranu. Like the last one, little remains, and no restoration had ever happened. Further down the track, we arrived at Thring Rock. Named by Larry Wells in 1896 after Francis William Thring, a member of John McDouall Stuart's expedition across Australia in 1862. Further down the track, we reached the turnoff to Mujingerra. This rough and overgrown track leads to a native soak. And another consequence of hitting foliage, but it just snaps back in. The native soak, due to so much foliage around it consuming the groundwater, didn't have any water in it. The metal plaque here records Canning's visit in 07. Yeah, that's 1907. Tightening up the sand flag, we headed back to the track. At this point, the track was a lot narrower and rockier. However, the harder surface meant that it was less corrugated, allowing for more comfortable travel. We reached well 30, Juntu, and had lunch. Snell reconstructed this well in 1929, but Canning reconstructed it in 1930, claiming Snell did a poor job. After this, we followed a sidetrack to the entrance of Mujingerra Cave. As soon as we reached the cave, the smell of death was apparent in the air. Upon reaching the cave entrance, the reason was clear. A camel had fallen into the hole, and its rotting corpse was the source of the smell and the flies. We're not hanging around here.
One hole, contents dead camel.
Further down the track, we reached the turnoff for Nogurga Soak.
I believe this is it. Seems a bit damp and muddy here. The Westprint map describes this as difficult to find.
Start heading back.
Copy that, which I think is code for we couldn't find it.
Just down the track from there, we find well 31, Walla Walla.
Some of the metal and a hole in the ground.
Let's head out to the native soak behind this well for a look. Snell built this well here in 1929 as he insisted that Canning originally built the well in the wrong place. But when Canning returned in 1930, he disagreed and rebuilt his original well. Now at this point we were flying the drone blind. It will do this, but it's severely limited in altitude and range. The one compatible phone we had gone missing. Although we did not know where the phone was, we did not yet know that we had actually lost it. We continued on down the track. We announced that we were ascending a dune over the radio, and we heard someone else asking if we'd lost a phone. It apparently matched our description, so we agreed to meet at well 32 for its safe return. This stop sign here typically causes a lot of amusement, as you wouldn't expect to see one out here, but it does serve a useful purpose. Coming the other way, after a lot of fairly flat track, there is a rather sudden and steep drop off after it. Arriving in well 32, Kunawarritji, after the incredibly lucky return of a phone we did not know we had lost. Apparently it was sitting in the sand on the side of the track, having fallen out of the door. Shortly after that, we noticed the front right tyre was somewhat flatter than it should be.
And I thought that one was the one with the problem.
Finding no continuing leak from the tyre after pumping it up again, we continued on to Malawa Native Well, our last point of interest for the day. Arriving there, the leak was obvious. At well 32, in the exact orientation we were parked, the hole in the tyre was being squeezed shut.
Take in an emergency. Warning messages, flat tyre. Under the chassis frame side rail.
It appears that the jack was jacking down into the ground much more than it was raising the car. Even though the ground was pretty solid, we still needed a base plate.
Oh, there you go. I gotcha.
Note that the impact driver is on the setting where it only applies a small torque and then stops. And always thread the nuts on by hand first. And now deflate from 60 psi as a spare to the 15 we were actually running. The site we're currently at is the Malawi native well. Well 32 was not built at this location because Canning thought it was too sandy here.
All good.
Fun.
APRS has died again. Sorry, I think we're trying to catch any of that, guys. Let that hand step back.
And there was the sign for Kunawarritji Community, but we were headed a bit further down the track to the other Kunawarritji, well 33. If you climb the stairs to the toilet block, you'll suddenly see a bunch of lights on the horizon that you couldn't see when you were standing at ground level. That's the Kunawarritji Community, where we'll be going tomorrow, and where your mobile signal's coming from. That is, if you're on Optus. Since we'll be refilling the jerry cans on our roof,
It stopped again.
we'll need to dump the extra weight of that log. That means sawing it down so it can go in the back of Rusty's ute. But the Ryobi saw's not quite playing nice, so out comes the Silky again. At first it was just the number plate, but now the number plate holder is cracked. I'll have to figure out what to do with that later. Ah, the famous leaning sign. Not quite as leaning as it once was. Turning here, we headed to Kunawarritji Community, a small Aboriginal settlement formed when the CRA handed over a former exploration base to the Matu people. Fill up everything with diesel from a Gilbarco electro line that has clearly seen better days. Apparently it's been a bit temperamental for a while, and it didn't get any better after someone somehow drove into it. 102 litres put in the tank, and 7 empty jerry cans filled. This gives us a total of 242 litres used for 1,061 kilometres, although this was measured with the map. The GPS has positional error and the odometer counts wheel spin, so getting an exact distance is tricky, but this is almost certainly close enough. This equates to 22.8 litres per 100 kilometres, and arriving here we had 36 litres left in the vehicle's tank. So we could have done it with only 6 jerry cans, but with 5, we'd have run out of fuel. $10 more gets you a shower and the use of the washing machines. And then we bought a couple of supplies at the general store. But in the freezer, something tempted me more than the ice creams. A kangaroo tail. Literally, the tail of a kangaroo. I bought it and received some advice on how to cook it. By this time, a certain prominent YouTuber had now released the video of their fairly recent Canning trip. Making use of the Optus satellite bandwidth, I downloaded it for some viewing. See if we recognize any of it, I guess. The track which continues up the Canning departs from the Well 33 campsite, so we leave the wide graded road behind and get back to something more typical of the CSR. Nearpally, Well 34, no water, scrap metal and a hole. Reconditioned by Snell in 1929, but since fallen into disrepair.
Hey Rusty, your sand flag broke even more.
It's disassembling itself. I think what's happened is the sleeve has started coming out.
Get that bit, run a bunch of duct tape around it.
With Rusty's sand streamers repaired, we headed on to Kinyu, Well 35. It's hard to locate the actual hole, seemingly in the middle of a bush. Not much remains. This was the last well reconditioned by Snell before his supplies ran out and he was forced to return. The Geraldton Historical Society also had a go reconditioning this well, installing a plastic liner, but the well fell into disrepair because the water quality here was never any good.
I think that's it, but
Yeah, we spent about $740 just in fuel.
oh yeah.
The Bungabini native well has a small amount of rather dirty water in it. No well parts exist here, as it was not one of Canning's original wells, rather a native soak. Canning declined to build a well here because it was too slow to fill up again after it had been drained. It was rebuilt in 1989 by a group led by Peter Vernon, who also built the track between well 35 and 36. An alternate route for this part of the Canning stock route exists, but you'll end up skipping a couple of wells if you take it. We continue on over more dunes to get to our destination for the night. Well 36, Kilkill, has water in an open pit. It's pretty disgusting and murky, so we're not going to be using any of it. Instead, there's something else to do. First, we need to defrost this kangaroo tail by the fire.
Close together, there's no way you'd be able to.
Once it's no longer frozen, we need to drop it straight in the fire for a few minutes. Best not to do this in a shared campfire, as it will expose anybody in the area to the wonderful smell of charred skin and burnt fur. Give it a few minutes to get sufficiently blackened, then just rub the fur off the outside. Wrap it up in aluminium foil. Then put it on top of a bed of coals, and then cover it with more coals. Leave it there for half an hour. Then take it out, unwrap and enjoy. Although, for some reason I was the only one who wanted any.
And now for some gratuitous B-roll.
Right.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah, maybe easier just to forget the fork. Just pick it up and eat it straight off the bone. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and see you next time.